Welcome to Mother-Daughter Projects. I'm Steph.
I'm Vicki, and today we're building this. This is a seat table, and we've been wanting to make one of these for quite a while now. We eat a lot of lunches out here, and I had a place to put my food, but Steph didn't, so this solved the problem.
So the reason why we did this, we actually had to do it really quickly because we recently got a sponsorship with the Home Depot to use this new Olympic Elite Solid Stain to paint my outdoor furniture. And we wanted to have this table so we could show it in the final reveal. So one thing to note is we didn't actually have time to wait for this wood to fully dry out before we started working on this project. As you can see from the first cut here, there's definitely still a lot of moisture in the wood, but it's all good.
Come along as we show you how we built this.
We're going to be using 2 landscaping timbers. Here we're cutting 1 set of pieces for the table to check the height. We're using a C table we made previously to check the height. When we were satisfied with the height, we cut the remainder of the pieces. We're using a miter saw to make the cuts. You'll notice I'm wearing gloves and a mask because this wood is pressure treated as it's made to be used outside. And you need to protect yourself from the chemicals used in the pressure treated process. Here are all the pieces cut and in place. The next task is to sand all these boards smooth. Mom is using an orbital sander clamped to the table and is sanding each piece to try to take off the roughness. She started at 60 grit followed by 120 grit. Again, she's wearing gloves and a dust mask. Next, we're staining these with the Olympic Elite Solid Stain. This is the same product we used on my porch furniture. It goes on really smoothly and can be used on damp wood, which we know this wood was. With that stained, we laid out all the pieces and cut 5 pieces of slotted flat bar. Here I'm cutting the bar with a battery-powered DeWalt bandsaw. Mom cleaned the bars with Crud Cutter, then applied some stain to it and stained the top of the screws that we'll be using. Then we got to assembling the table. Here we're using wood glue between the pieces, but we do not recommend it because after this dried, it started to fall apart. But in this step, we did clamp it and attach the metal bars with hex head screws, and we're using an impact wrench to get them quickly in place. So the next day we took the remaining wood glue off the top and bottom pieces and replaced it with construction adhesive. This is a much stronger bond for different materials and ultimately worked way better than the wood glue, and we would have used this from the beginning if we had thought about that. We're reattaching the metal bar in place, and our impact wrench is at Mom's house, so I'm using a hand wrench for this step. And we're reattaching the ends with more construction adhesive. I was concerned about the white showing through, and as you can see it does show, but it was really easy to add stain over that and it blends in perfectly in the final piece. We added some weight to make sure the adhesive dried in the proper placement. Because we're not taking any chances this time of this falling apart, we added long screws to the top and bottom pieces. And I'm using an impact driver here which makes quick work of this process. What we learned. So we used 2 landscaping timbers to do this build, and there's a couple reasons we did that. First, they have a really cool look to them, the way that they're kind of designed, so we really wanted that look. But one of our concerns is that they're pressure treated because they're meant to be used outside around landscaping. But as we thought about it, we knew we were going to fully stain them, so it should really seal in that concerning pressure treated part. And we are going to eat on the surface, but not off the surface, so we weren't super concerned about there being kind of contamination. And then the last reason is that they are typically pretty straight, the landscaping timbers that we've found when we purchased them in the past, so that is always a plus when woodworking.
That's exactly right. Now you saw in the video that we did paint the metal parts, the nuts and the bars, and we know it's going to come off because it's not meant.
It already has a little bit.
It already has because it's not meant for metal, but that just adds the rustic look, and we're okay with that.
Now if you're wondering why the wood glue didn't work, we have a couple theories. One, we already know the wood was wet. Number 2, we had fully stained the wood, so we weren't really connecting 2 pieces of wood anymore because of the stain. Number 3, we have really bad humidity here in Florida, especially during the summertime. It's actually been raining during this filming, if you haven't noticed. It could have been all those combinations, but ultimately we realized we needed something that would also be thicker, that would fill in some of the gapping, because this is obviously not perfect, which is the whole reason we liked the look of this this particular wood. Ultimately, construction adhesive was the ticket here.
We love the way this looks. It really reminds me of our past visits to Disney's Fort Wilderness or Disney's tree houses. So it really gives that rustic cabin vibe that we really are enjoying.
Thanks for joining us. If you want more projects from us, be sure to hit the subscribe button and click the bell to be notified of all our new videos.
I never know what to do with my hands.
Yeah, we all know. We can see that. Just hold them right here. Just hold them like a lady.